that when it's prime time to hold pilgrims accountable, when it's them that are in the light, why do we always go but black people? Why is it? But it's not just them. This is prime time Tim Westwood, and yes, we know that there are others that take part in acts that he does, right, or that he did, but it's always a but, and it shouldn't be.
I feel like black people, especially, we find it hard to say, you know, oh, we love our blacks. Like it's almost like you shouldn't say that
out loud.
Yeah, you can't say
you
that.
Say it behind closed doors.
So the default is when we're talking about those situations, we've got to act like we're considering the other side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to water it down a bit.
But I don't even think that it's an act.
But
I
you know
think
what
people,
I mean? It's ingrained. It's a
I think
default.
people genuinely
they do it
have that
without even
for their oppressors.
No, do you know what? It's mad because even as you talk about the R. Kelly situation, right? More people should have gone down. His whole, the whole system, his whole team, everyone that enabled that behaviour, the parents, everybody.
This is, I've been saying this for the longest time.
Everyone don't get it.
Let children come out and let them go.
I hear what you're saying. You're not wrong. I think what it is for me is that regardless of the face that is there, and I understand it all stems from a system that was created by a particular race, right? But at the same time, wrong is wrong. Whatever colour that face is, I'm going to call it for what it is. I'm not going to turn around and say, okay, compare Jimmy Savile to R. Kelly or whatever. They're both nasty.
But you have to be able, because if we want to move forward, we have to be able to acknowledge the root.
Definitely.
Because what we do is we comment on fruits, so the stuff that kind of seeps out into society, and we're not. The reason why we're not getting anywhere is because we haven't directly addressed the root. Because if once we get those roots out, then you can say, oh, okay, now they know. Like for me, if we talk about black empowerment and it makes a white person feel uncomfortable, then what the fuck?
It's
like,
supposed to make them.
They're
supposed to feel uncomfortable.
In my mind, if a white person, if the white person feels uncomfortable, then that doesn't say nothing about us. It says about them and where they think they should be. If that makes sense.
And where they think we should be.
What Ant's saying is we just need to be very clear in saying, yo, fuck you lot, and also.
No, but wait. Sorry, Jay. Let me take that. Saying fuck them is a mentality. It's not necessarily fucking do something to them or harm them or nothing like that. Fuck it is a state of mind. It's like if someone keeps hurting you, right, you're going to have to tell yourself, I need to step away from these people at all costs because my life is at risk, right? This is the problem. The only reason why things are allowed to run how they run is because we're not honest. They're not honest about how this system is affecting everybody else. They're not honest, period. So when we come with the honesty, it's like, oh yeah, but because they don't want to get honest. They don't want to get truthful. They don't want to actually be like, yo, do you know what? I've got to look at myself internally and ask myself, have I actually played a part in this? Because if they do that, they're going to break. And then they're going to say, we ain't actually good people because we've been in this and we've seen this and we actually don't identify with our fellow humans. Because remember, they're always quick to pull the human card. When shit goes left, they're like, oh, but we're all human and there's only one race. But they're not actually helping the situation at hand.
You have to realise at what point how do we tackle this situation? Because at every stage in history that our people have tried to rise up and have leaders that say, you know, point it out and try and hold them accountable.
They get killed.
Thank you.
It's what he said though.
They get
the root.
It's what he said. He said, fuck it. We don't have that fuck it. We're gonna die anyway. Us saying, do you know what? I don't like what you did. Fuck that.
Listen,
What I'm
Marcus
saying-
Garvey tried to take all the African Americans and take them back to Africa. They destroyed his whole
Do you
plan
know what Marcus
from the
Garvey
inside
did though?
out.
Marcus Garvey inspired millions
Yes.
of
The-
melanated
yes,
people.
and
because-
I agree.
and look,
I agree.
look. He was more alive. He's more alive now.
But they destroyed him.
No, but
babe.
listen,
By
no.
the time he died,
But he's
No,
an
but listen,
individual.
no.
but
listen,
the
listen.
fact that we can still.
Listen, it's not about him. It's about his ideas.
no, it's true.
His
I'm
ideas.
all of them.
It's his spirit that lives
He didn't
on,
do it
and
for
that's
him.
the problem.
They can't kill the spirit.
We can't die.
Yeah.
There is no dying here.
Yeah.
In relation to the we, I don't give a fuck what they do to me because you can't kill me if I'm thinking we, not me.
Mm-hmm. That bit.
And that's the thing, like our personal egos can get into fear and we go, oh, well, they might do this. They might do it anyway, whether you do it or not. So actually, why not? Because we don't know. We don't know if we haven't done nothing.
It's a case of what have you got to
Do you know what I'm
lose?
saying? But the key, I think what you're saying is right, but I think because the ego, the negative ego, because there's positive and negative, but the negative ego that has, we get into, so people come with ideas and stuff and then we get into worship. And so there's sometimes people are looking for you to do what like, oh yeah, you speak well. That doesn't mean I need to do.
Yeah.
I've got the blueprint.
I'm inspiring you.
What are you going to do? I need people to, everyone has their parts. So I don't think we've been as well organised to be able to be like, all right, cool, I've got the blueprint, I can speak it, you know how to take action on that, you know how to put it as a structure. We've got pieces, but we haven't brought it together.
The thing is, I think with this kind of discussion, for me, why I say it might look like it's always a but and an if and whatever, right? It's only because I don't like to generalise people. And do you know why I say that? Because listen, I don't like to generalise because within the grand scheme of things, there are good people, there are bad people. Some of them are just headless chicken. They're just headless people walking and being led into the fire, and they don't even know, or they're benefiting off a system that they're not even aware of how deep it goes and how much they're oppressing others for them to be entitled. This is where
I feel like
you can't blame the victim for being a victim.
Even though we know that there's certain individuals that are just like that, I feel like these type of conversations, you have to generalise.
What do you think slavery was? They generalized. Well, you're all just black, so you all gotta get in there. You're all slaves. They generalize. Society.
But the thing is, it's crazy because I don't know, unpopular opinion, but I think what we've been fed as far as the history of slavery isn't as grand scheme as they're making us believe it is.
What do you mean?
How did they bring 200 something boats? Tell me where's the evidence? How much evidence is there to support all of the claims that they have that we was chained, enslaved, da da da? They've got small pockets of it. I'm not denying slavery existed. What I'm saying is the magnitude that they have perceived it to be is another way they've used to mentally lock us down.
So with that, what are you
generationally.
saying?
So I don't believe it was as big as it was. I believe it was a small pocket, and if they were able to destroy our history, each child that was born, each new black child that was born, believed that they were slave of a slave, slave of a slave. That's the mentality that was then passed on.
So,
Do you get?
So what does that have to do with now?
Wait,
My
hold on,
point
hold on.
is that we have to, in order for us to break out of that, we have to realise that we weren't really slaves like that.
Okay.
Do you understand? It
Let me
wasn't
ask-
that
hold
deep.
on.
The minute we realise we're not victims to the point where it's like our whole bloodline. Do you get what I'm saying? Then it's
Okay. All right. So you're saying, I'm hearing you to say, so correct me if I'm wrong.
please do.
You're saying that you feel the story of black people, the history of black people has been somewhat inflated.
100%.
Okay. And then you also said that you think this because you don't believe that this trauma can travel down the generations.
No, I believe it has because they were able to rewrite it so many
Reinforce it.
times
So
and
basically
reinforce
the art
it.
of
Yeah.
manipulation.
Thank
So,
you.
right, if I feel like what I got from that was, as an example, if you had, I don't know, 50,000 people that were enslaved, they've told us it was 250,000, but because we're not in a position to have been given evidence to show otherwise, whether it be for or against, and because we may have had part of those 50,000 relatives that know, oh, well, actually that did happen to my family, because they've experienced it, it's going to be easy for them to tell that story for everybody else to believe it.
So can I just
but,
say,
so it's like second
I feel like
if
even
we
though it
do
might
go
not
with
have
that,
been physical evidence,
no, but wait,
it was
if we go with
definitely
that,
it was definitely mind control and brainwashing.
Right.
Wait,
Oh,
what-
100%.
What,
Oh, 100%.
what are we doing here? I actually,
100%.
what are we doing here right
Go on,
now? I don't really, I don't, I'm,
But the whole
you lot
point-
have actually
my point
lost
is-
me. Hold
my
on.
point-
no, but it
is-
goes back to the art of manipulation. Imagine if you have got 50,000 that were captured slaves, right? But they've told you it was 250,000. We're still fucked, because if we could have believed that concept, and we've gone through generational years of trauma because of a concept they've sold us, just like Anne
Yeah,
says,
that's
they've lied. They always lie. So
But
we are
burst
always
that
being
bubble.
fed
I don't think
those
it was
lies.
burst
What are we talking about?
No, I'm not saying
What
it's
are you
Everything
saying?
starts
saying.
from a concept, babes. Everything starts from an idea. Someone woke up one day and said,
It
"Boom,
was
this
an
is what
idea,
we're
but
going
I'm
to
saying
create," and they
the trauma
created it.
didn't start from slavery. That's what I'm saying.
I'm actually lost. I'm
There
actually
was a
lost for
path
words,
to
because
that.
unless I'm sorry, unless you've so there's actual people that have had parents that have witnessed slavery. The woman that sings, what's that woman? You might have posted it actually. What was the woman? Her, yeah. So it's like, by you saying that slavery is somewhat inflated, it's highly offensive
Yeah.
to the people that have been there. And then unless you have actually gone to these places, to these locations, and done the
I actually
research,
have. I've been to Ghana and I've seen the actual concentration camps where they kept. You can
and
smell.
you feel that's
You
inflated.
still smell it. You feel. What
Not
I'm
that that's
saying.
loaded. You feel that
What I'm
concept
saying-
is still inflated.
Do you know why I say it? Because I totally agree with Kanye West when he made the statement that we're now choosing to be enslaved, because we're not letting go. We've got to let go of the trauma. How do you move forward if you don't let go?
Okay, and hold on.
We're holding trauma. That's not ours no more. There's a different type of slavery happening now, and that's the slavery that we're choosing to be a part of, because we're choosing to be a part of the system
Is it a
that
choice?
is enslaving us mentally.
So slavery
If
wasn't
we-
that long time ago.
Listen,
Hold on. I'm just listening here, yeah. If you said earlier that you were quite a spiritual person, yeah.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
have the baths. What do you
Yeah,
call baths?
spiritual baths.
Okay.
Where-
And then you said when you get up and drain the bath,
I
you feel it
release it.
flowing, yeah.
Yeah.
So then how can you believe that? Yeah. Not saying it's false, but then think that people of our colour
Darling.
should just, get over it, and
So
it shouldn't
we
be
must
passed down, we should
believe-
get out of it.
So these people that enslaved us, we must believe and take their word of what they've taught us about our own history, word for word, and believe it. I'm not saying. I'm not dismissing. I'm not.
I'm talking
I'm
about
saying
all
there's
of it.
Loads of black
there is black
stories
people that have gone through it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
dismissing that. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying that in those small pockets of people that have been through, and generationally, their families can say, yeah, I know your auntie was and your uncle and da 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 da. Great, I get it. But all we're doing is enforcing that and reinforcing it constantly for the next generation. We've got to let it go.
Okay.
I hear
So
you.
how do we let it go without revisiting what has happened?
We've got to stop continuing to feed into this.
Can I
But
just
how
say
do we
something?
build if we haven't realised the position we're in?
But
It's
we
because
have
of
realised
certain-
it. We've been realising it.
Can I just say
We've been
something?
realising
We
it.
haven't
We've
unpacked
been
it.
going
Babies,
through it.
baby realised.
We haven't unpacked it.
Like, for me, numbers don't matter. Something happened that is destructive to me. So I don't care if there was 100,000 or 50,000. It happened. So I want to deal with the fact that this shit happened based on an idea. The other side is around when we talk about people have a choice. They don't. Because the thinking has not been given from, like, if you didn't have a choice to be enslaved, and they've given you an indoctrination, which is religion, financial education, all these different things, they've taught you how we need to be, then how is it your choice if it's not your program, if it's not your ideas?
Listen.
How big do you think the world is?
As black, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because as a black society, right, as the black race, we are the majority on this planet, okay? Whatever they want to indoctrinate us to think, We are the majority. We are on every single continent, everywhere, every crook, cranny, everywhere. We're there, right? And we've been there from the beginning of time. We have also enslaved other races, okay? Within our own history, we have enslaved other races. Why it's not being continuously taught is because once they rose to the top and were able to enslave us, they found a loophole to say we can continue to enslave mentally over and over and over.
What's the slavery you're referring to?
When we was pharaohs and kings and queens and all this and that, we talk about it like it's, of course it's empowering, it's wonderful, it's great to know that our people were at the top at some point, right? Whether we're talking about Egypt, Ethiopia, whichever part of the continent you want to talk about, right? My point in saying is that we also, as a people, enslave others, but we don't get taught that part of it. It's great to hear the empowering side of it, but we also don't get taught because they've reprogrammed our minds to believe that we've always been oppressed. Do you understand?
Who did we enslave?
Every race. We're all over the continent.
I'm learning. I'm asking.
No,
I'm asking because I have my opinion, and you have your opinion, and then there's obviously.
You're right. You've got like Tutankhamun, that Inuk. You've got all these different pharaohs and they were black, right? They were melanated people, whether they were actually, whatever nationality, right? They were melanated people. They had slaves. Their slaves were not just black. They had Caucasian slaves. They had Chinese slaves. They had Indian slaves. Everywhere around the world, at what certain point in history, we ruled as well. The point is,
what they were doing to their slaves, were the whites doing to their slaves?
The difference is that the white people realised that if we can make them believe that their history began from being oppressed, then we can oppress them for eternity.
And
we didn't. Unfortunately, I'm not saying oppression full stop is wrong. Whether it's coming from black, white, wherever it's coming from, I don't believe in it. But it's just the way that civilization was. If you go back to black history and African, we've always had slaves.
Okay,
black people had their own slaves.
How are you suggesting?
I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right.
I know. But so I'm going with the notion that you're right. Yeah, I'm not saying you're saying you're right. I'm saying that I
could be wrong.
Now, how are you suggesting that we get over racism? Because from your philosophy, it should be a simple. Right, that happened. We know that happened. Now we should move forward.
Yeah.
So how are you suggesting we move forward?
re-traumatizing our people with the consistent narrative of us being slaves and having to feel the pain of our ancestors. Our ancestors felt that pain. It happened to them. They felt the pain in order for us to be free and be free-minded and be free within our bodies and what we can do in society in this world. What we have to, we're not wholeheartedly, I'm not saying all over the spectrum. I'm just saying there's a small part of it where we carry this burden of what our ancestors went through. You can sympathize with somebody, but from when you start traumatizing yourself and you're like, oh my God, yeah, the pain, that da-da-da-da. No, we don't know what it was like for our ancestors. We cannot walk through their shoes. We can only walk through the shoes we have now. So all we can change is what is happening now.
So do you not think that so you don't think you feel any sort of trauma from your ancestors? You today, standing here today, you think that actually slavery is done, that type of slavery is done. I, as a person that's moved forward, I feel no repercussions.
I don't say, there are repercussions, there's repercussions, obviously, as we see in the world that we live in today, right? My point is that I'm not then going to teach my son, you was a slave like your ancestors and da-da-da. I'm not teaching my son that. I'm not teaching my children that. I'm teaching them from what they are today. You're beautiful, you're strong, you're empowered. Those things happen, it was negative, but you can think forward.
How can you teach somebody to be better without teaching the past?
How can you
teach your son and daughter? How can you teach your son and daughter, whatever lessons you want to teach, without them knowing who you are? Does that make sense?
But I'm not the product of slavery.
Are you sure?
I'm not. My actual bloodline is not. My name, my family name has stayed the same. I'm not Brown. I'm not Smith. I'm not I'm full heritage.
I think to be empowered now is to know we are slaves.
I don't know
Because
about that one.
the reason why I say it is because if we pretend like we're not, then we will act out a certain way. And when we come against the system, we're going to, oh, but we're not slaves anymore. But you are.
Yeah.
Because
You have to expand on that though.
Yeah. So when I mean that, I mean, as you said, the indoctrinated mind, right? So we're within this system. We as we talk about it a lot in dissecting minds around like how we're created. When our parents sign our birth certificates to the government, we're now bonded slaves.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
we are slaves. We're just slaves in a different form.
Yes, it's a different system.
I'll give it to you like this: if you decide to not pay your tax, they can come for you. They will take you to jail, which means you're slaves because you can't work for free and not give them anything.
Okay.
They didn't work for that money, you did. So you work for the money and they're trying to tax you on what? What do they do for you to give them that tax? You don't give them the tax, you're going to jail, you're a slave. But it's just, the empowerment part of it is that, okay, I now know I'm a slave, so I know I have to play a different type of game, or I have to know how to move within the system. Not to say it's a bad or good thing. It might be good that many of us have got this kind of way of, like, not for me, but for a lot of people, it might be good that I can just follow an order.
Yeah.
You know, lots of people like to follow orders, and that's okay
Yeah.
for them. Fair enough.
Whatever works.
Obviously,
for them.
where we're from, we're kind of a bit like, yeah, not really on it.
So it's like
But
awareness
at
of
the
the
same
game
time,
you're
it's
playing.
That's
Yeah.
learnt.
awareness.
That's learnt behaviour as well.
Awareness.
That's learnt
Yeah.
behaviour.
But
Of
some
course.
people are trapped
It's
in the
awareness.
trauma of it.
But
You've got to
now-
let it go.
But now listen though, where did we start and how did we get there?
I mean, I was sitting there thinking, Jesus, Westward to slavery. Gee.
Correct me if I'm
It goes
wrong.
back to his
It was
point.
you
No, but
saying,
yeah.
why do we do the butt black?
Yeah.
But
That's true.
you took us all the way back. It was a but. Again,
And the butt was.
we can't hold them to the fire because we enslaved people back then. And it goes back
We
to
can hold it
Tim
to the
Westwood.
fire.
No, but we don't because we always do the but. And then we go around to other spaces
and come
which
back to us.
right, and then come back to us. So we can't actually flame them up. Now,
And they do the same.
But how
They
do
say
we
the
fix
same
them
to
if
us.
we don't
Oh,
fix
it was
ourselves?
ages ago.
Huh?
Get
Yeah.
on with it. You should be grateful for where you
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah.
Don't live in
It's
the
not,
past.
but that's not the
let
way
go
that
of
I'm
it.
trying to.
No, I know, I know.
Yes,
I'm
but I
saying,
get
but-
it. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah, yeah, they do
use it to
Yeah,
gaslight us. I get it. Yeah.
The point is, there are like one thing you've got to give them credit for is the manipulation is
So,
the game.
The
Like,
psychology.
you can't beat them at the art of
18s.
manipulation because, like we've just even just that, you've gone full circle, taking us right back to history, and said we need to let go of it. But then on the flip side, they say you need to let go of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, hold on,
Yeah.
hold on, wait a
Who's
minute.
actually
We need to
talking?
let go of it of the trauma side,
Did you
but
hear
they're
that?
saying let go of it because it's not your trauma. Yeah, I heard. I wasn't
Yeah.
ignoring it.
did you hear that?
I heard it.
Who is actually talking here?
So the point is,
That's true.
you get to a point of even if you say, "Oh, it's me talking," but is it because they're saying, "Why don't you let go of the trauma? It wasn't you that experienced it; it was your ancestors." So move on.
So
and
in
move
other
on
words,
now.
saying shut
But
up.
no, but even
one
what I'm
should
saying is,
speak.
even if
You
you're
can't
saying it
have
from
a
a
voice.
different
No, 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 no,
angle,
no.
Say that again?
it's
I'm
still
saying, so in
you're
other
still
words,
hearing.
we must just shut up.
the same-